Welcome to the Book of Flynn.
Hello, I'm VinzerFlinn, and welcome back to the Book of Flynn, where despite all the Xander-heavy episodes, I am still on this project, with, of course, the lovely Reigna Flynn.
Good afternoon, evening, morning, whenever you listen to this, everybody.
Alright, we're introducing a short new segment at the start of the Book of Flynn now, and it's been brought about because every time I go in to check on Reigna and she's playing Stardew Valley, she describes some insane shit that I have absolutely... I'm like, what is going on in this game? Like, I don't play Stardew. I got it for Reigna for Christmas a couple years ago, and clearly it's the best present I've ever gotten her because she plays it all the time and she loves it, which is great. But like, I was like, isn't this a game about a person with a little farm or something? And then, so there's this new segment is called "What the fuck is going on in Stardew Valley?" Okay, so Reigna, what the fuck is going on in Stardew Valley today?
Well, today I took a kid who washed up on a shore and was raised by a parrot family on an island, a tropical island just south of Stardew, brought over to Stardew to live with the homeless man who lives in a cave, in a tent.
That doesn't make a lick of sense.
Yeah, he speaks parrot.
I mean, if you told me Vincent Price drove up in a Greyhound and went, "Get on, boys," like, it wouldn't make any less sense. But I love it. I'm here for the weirdness.
Well, I mean, this originally started because you and you were talking with somebody on Discord one night while I was watching a bear float around in an umbrella cleaning up garbage and building a doghouse for the dog in town while he's like Mary Poppins through the town. And I couldn't tell you guys because I didn't know how to put what I was watching
No,
into
it
words.
sounded like he'd suffered some kind of mental collapse or something, or ate some acid.
Yeah.
That's what would make that game make sense, acid.
It's true. This is a wonderful game. I recommend it. Sorry if any of that was spoilers, but the game's been out for a while, so...
Tune in next week for what the F is going on in Stardew. It's a different answer every time. Like that last one with the parrots, that's the first I've heard of that one. There's always something new and weird. But that's great. You know, hats off to the creator of this fucking game. Well, let's move on to something that makes sense to me, Star Wars.
Well, this one really should make sense to you, considering this episode is Season 2, Episode 17, Bounty Hunters. It opens with "In memory of Akira Kurosawa," which we'll figure out who that is throughout the episode. "Courage makes heroes, but trust builds friendships." I predicted that this is a clone trooper-centric episode. Or is Vinzer going to have to call his lawyer? Really, there is two options. But I guess there was a third, because neither of those. Recap is the death toll is rising because the good guys are using live cannon fodder, whereas the separatists are using droids. Make that make sense. And the medical centers are being made to treat these injured clone troopers, and they're now targets for the separatists. Shocked, I tell you, considering we've already done an episode where they were attacking a clone healing center.
It's not the first time I've bitched about how weird the docking sequence is for these. I know there's no up in space, but they're just the way they dock and they sort of hang on it like, I don't know, like clothes hangers or something. It's weird.
One specific medical station has gone silent around Felucia, which we've been here before, so the Three Stooges are heading in. Who do you think the Stooges would be if we had to name them for Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka right now?
Kenobi's Mo because he's always pissed off about what everyone else is doing. Anakin's Curly because he's just doing whatever. And Ahsoka's Larry because that's the backbone of the team and the one you really got to keep your eye on.
I had Curly as Anakin as well. It just seemed really fitting. But I had Larry as Obi-Wan and Mo as Ahsoka because her frustration throughout this episode is very
I'd buy
telling
that too.
of what she has to deal with. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan is just the comedic... He's the droids. He's the Harry and the Marv in this episode. The angelfish ship comes up on Felucia. They're in a angelfish style ship. It reminds me of like a type. I don't know what type of ship is this.
Oh, this is a ship that the same as Ahsoka uses in the live action show. It's like a
Yeah.
Jedi ship because it's specifically outfitted for Jedi stuff.
Oh, okay. Oh, right, with the big
Yeah, it had like a lightsaber
meditation
shop in
center
it
in
kind
it.
of thing. So yeah, it's just it must be the first appearance of this kind. I don't remember it before, but yeah, it just seems to be a Jedi ship that they use for missions. But it's not the Twilight hair dryer, so I assumed you'd like it.
Yeah, I do like this ship. This one at least makes more sense. Ahsoka is looking out on the scanners and she doesn't see anything until suddenly there's a vulture droid hub that comes up on the scanners and it just was like, release the hyenas, because these were called the hyena bombers from the last episode. I guess we know what happened to the medical station. That's not good. Just Obi-Wan commentary throughout this entire scene. All he was missing was, whoa. Of course, in perfect Skywalker fashion, they're crashing and they're heading towards a giant rock formation trying to outfly these vulture droids. He shouts out, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" Obi-Wan retorts, "I most certainly am not." I don't usually go line by line, but the exchange in these scenes is very snappy and comedic, and I just really enjoyed it.
These crashes like this really put in perspective in episode 3 where they crashed that big one. And Obi-Wan says, another happy landing. And he looks all relieved. Like, this is, there's a number of times he's crashed with Anakin.
They're going to emergency eject, and Obi-Wan basically is just looking for a paper bag to hyperventilate into. Ahsoka speaks the truth with, "How come every time we fly, we crash?"
Yeah, it's the Indiana Jones thing. Anakin, fly, yes. Land, no.
He's a really good pilot, but autopilot for landing and taking off is probably his best friend.
I was flying through a jump gate with Mr. Flinnman the other night in Star Citizen, and I was recording, so I was lagging quite badly, and we were drifting towards the edges of it a lot. And Flinnman's like, and I was like, don't worry, I fly better at a low frame rate than anyone I know, and we got through.
Anakin is blaming the ship, and I'm sorry, how is this better than the RSS Con Air? I'd rather have the angelfish any day. Hijinks ensues as their ejection balloons somehow escape detection.
Yeah, that
and
was
they
new.
just kind of go boing, bop, boing, all the way towards the ground. Are there shock absorbers in those seats?
I would hope so, but like I said once before, like this, it doesn't stop your skull from sloshing your brain around in there. Like that seems like a very unpleasant. Like maybe a parachute, you know?
Yeah. They make it to the surface and they immediately see like a brontosaurus-sized walking turtle thing. Whatever. They have a turtle-like face, but they've got like lobster claws, so click, 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 but they've got like this humpback, and I'm making motions for Vinzer to see.
She really is. She's making like Zoidberg click, click, clack, clacker motions.
They don't seem to notice them as they walk by, and thank God. I didn't want to have to see them immediately start taking out the wildlife that's about 10 times the size of them. Annie and Obi-Wan, being the adults of this situation, get into like a snipping, two old ladies bickering style argument. And Ahsoka's just standing in the background, shaking her head, waiting for a moment to intervene because she can see smoke and signs of a society on the horizon. She finally gets to point it out, and they're like, oh, okay, and they kind of sheepishly follow her. Anakin comes up with, maybe they have a ship we can borrow. And by borrow, he obviously means steal and inevitably destroy. Which, frig you, they're not your lightsabers.
Entitled Jedi.
Right? They're not your lightsabers. You can't just get a new one. They notice that they come upon a farm that's growing Nicillin, which is a very valuable healing herb in the galaxy. But they also notice that there's no one around, and the Nicillin is looking like it's ready to be harvested, so where are the farmers? They spread out, and Anakin reminds us that he was once a farmer, And yeah, I guess I kind of forgot that.
I don't really know why he said that. Like he's been around moisture farmers and stuff on Tatooine. That's a big business there. But like he was like a technician for Watto, so I don't. I think that was like a little writing error saying that he was a farmer because he really wasn't.
No. But the key to any farmer is going to be go to their barn. Which I guess is true, because if you think in Smallville, there was a Superman ship in that one. So the secret to any farmer is going to be in their barn.
Even Twister, where all those size and shit were hanging. Who are these people?
Oh my gosh. Ugh. They look in the barn, and speaking of ships, there's a ship in there, but it looks like it's more for fighting than it does for any sort of farming or transporting.
Had a very early Razor Crest look to it.
But you don't know what ship this is?
Not specifically, no, no.
Okay. Ahsoka and Anakin head into this super cute dwelling dome thing that I would totally love to go and Airbnb in or something.
Yeah, it looks like something you'd watch in a an Aurora Inn in the winter, little cute Airbnb cottage.
It's very that. I love it. They can hear clanging somewhere inside and they discover a hatch and find a terrified little family. They're trying to calm the family down, but an entire group manages to get a drop on two Jedi.
Yeah, yeah, they come all the way in through a little hatch. There's like four of them or whatever, and they're just there.
Yeah. Obi-Wan's off somewhere else, doing some weird hijinks.
He's in the outhouse.
Yeah, and there are four against two inside the dwelling right now. One of them looks like Cad Bang's species.
Yeah, he looked similar to Duros. I don't know if he was or not, but there was definitely a similar look.
Yeah, it was like a purplish Duros. A samurai droid, which this guy's hat is probably my favorite thing of this episode. Another droid that reminds me of the turtle dinos they just said. They're very top heavy, very weird droid. And then another humanoid with Darth Maul head points, but more natural human colorings. I don't know what type was that
That would
like.
be Zabrak, which is also called Iridonian. There's a planet Iridonia where they look like that, but they're also in more recent canon, well, in Clone Wars recent, that is like 20 years ago, that they're Dathomirian. Like that's where there's a I don't know if they went from Iridonia to Dathomir or whatever, but they do live on both planets. But Zabrak is the common term for them, but Iridonian also correct.
Okay, cool. They dismiss Ahsoka as a threat, saying that it's 4-on-1, and Ahsoka's like, "Hey guys, I'm here. Hello." And they're like, "Oh yeah, the droid, one of the tall turtle style droids, is like, you tiny little person, little hat. What was it, knee high? They called her, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come back around to that one.
So the names were Sugi is the Zabrak, Embo's the cool guy with the hat, and Rumi Paramite is the sniper, and Sarapas is the mech suit guy. And again, they do say the names at some point in the show, but as you say, Star Wars really gatekeeps its knowledge, so you gotta go look for the wikis to make sure you got all these names right.
Or do what I do and just make up names until they bother to provide them to you. Without further ado, this group is dismissing Ahsoka as a threat, and then Obi-Wan's like, "How's about me, though?"
Just back from the outhouse.
Sorry about the smell. We have a montage of battle readying occurring with some epic shots, and I actually took a few screenshots. I thought they were really cool. One of the inhabitants comes up and is like, "No, no, 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 don't harden the Jedi. Maybe they can help us." They say, "Oh, there's 7 of you." And I go, "Oh, okay, yep." Over in the mess hall, the main farmer is explaining that the pirates nearby are expecting a portion of the crops, or else they will burn everything, including them and their homes, to the ground, which is a plot to A Bug's Life, which was released in 1998's Pixar. With a cloud mob of grasshoppers. They say 7, and I'm like, this is a 7 Samurai episode.
It sure is.
Which brings us to Akira Kurosawa.
Yep, he was the man behind Seven Samurai, and I think it was 1953. And he did a bunch of other stuff like Hidden Fortress that George Lucas was very much inspired by. And so many TV shows and movies and stories and comics trace the roots back to that old Seven Samurai idea of defending the villagers from bandits.
Anakin wants to take the ship in the barn in exchange for help, and the bounty hunters are like, no, no, that ship doesn't go anywhere unless we are in it. So Anakin's like, all right, well, then let's just help. But Obi-Wan blasts the bounty hunters for extorting the farmers, but then in the same breath refuses to help them. Like, oh, we don't need to get involved in this. This isn't a Jedi matter. We need to report back to HQ.
Yeah, this is a classic case of Jedi losing their perspective. Like, yeah, I understand the war effort's important and everything, but what is a Jedi supposed to do but not if help people who are too, weak to fight for themselves? This is exactly what the Jedi should be doing.
Yeah, Satine would slap you right now if she was in the same room, and Qui-Gon is trying to like force hit you.
Yeah, Qui-Gon would have been all over this.
Yes, because of course, Anakin's like, we helped them. We're stuck here anyways. We get a ride. I just don't understand why Anakin's the voice of reason in this episode. Really should have been the other way around, but whatever. They move the discussion outside. So Larry, Curly, and Mo go outside. And when he's asked his reasoning, it's because they have to report back to HQ, which this ridiculous excuse. And because he's like, well, if we stick around, the separatists are going to catch up with them. Problem is that the separatists follow their trails. So the fact that they walked into this village means he's already marked them for pillaging. So they're basically screwed. As they're arguing about whether to help or not, the pirates show up and they're South African, Aussie mummies. What are these?
These guys are Weequays, which are very often used in Star Wars as henchmen type guys. You see them in Return of the Jedi working at Jabba's and stuff like that. So yeah, you see these poor Weequays are very often cast in the role of thugs and goons.
Gotcha. They look like lizards made out of wood. One of them, I'm assuming the leader, judging from his hat and his pet, we'll come back around to the pet, is Captain Hondo. And I knew he sounded vaguely familiar, but he's the guy from the last Three Stooges episode where Count Dooku, also known as Count Chocula, got tethered to Obi-Wan and Anakin, and they were forced to have their own hijinks.
Yeah, Hondo is one of those guys in Clone Wars that just keeps popping up.
I liked Hondo. I remember him being kind of ethical and smart. Like, he's like, let's deal with the devil we know because the separatists would screw us over, but then his henchmen screwed him over. Hondo is offering to double the fee for the bounty hunters to step aside, and Spikes, because they didn't give me her name, she ain't having it. She's like, no, 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 we made a contract with these guys. We're not just going to turn around and go, sure, more money, sweet, let's go with that.
I've never known a bounty hunter to do that, like say, I'll pay you more, and then they take that offer. And if they did, they'd never be hired by anyone again because you couldn't trust them. Like, they always try it in shows and movies, and I've never seen anyone actually take the offer.
I like that. I like that bounty hunters have more ethics than a lot of people these days.
Well, it's not even ethics, really. It's just they take the contract and they stick to it, otherwise they'll be pegged as unreliable.
Well, I guess a moral code, maybe.
Oh, sure, that plays into it for sure. But yeah, you don't want to be seen as a flaky bounty hunter. He's like, all right, I gave this guy half up front, and then he just fucks off with it.
Speaking of moral code, Obi-Wan left his in the crash ship, and he's offering to pay a lot for a ride off the planet. He's just like, oh, I'm just going to throw money at the problem and just take me out of here, and it'd be more than what you made from taking this portion of the crop.
It's not even his money he'd be spending. It's like the Republic's money.
Hondo is like, my clients do not accept Republican currency, and only Nicillin will do. Where when this is a healing herb, this makes me think that he needs it for someone more than just money. Because if money could solve the problem, then yeah, he'd always love more money. But the fact that he wants the Nicillin makes me think maybe he needs it for someone, maybe not just for profit.
Or he's got a contract too to steal it for some crime lord like Jobber or somebody who are going to mark it up and really sell it. So again, it might not be ethical, but like these guys are sticking to their contracts because they're answering to people above them, I think.
Hondo then reminds the farmer to harvest his crops before something happens to it. Be a real shame. Over in the dwelling, Obi-Wan, you think he's about to sing a different tune and he's helping them strategize until I realize he's just telling them what to do, but he's like, I'm still just gonna stay over here and do nothing. Useless, whatever. Anakin is whispering that they won't be able to fend themselves off properly without their help, and Spike is like, what do you think? You don't have confidence in us to do the job? Anakin's like, no, I just don't think you can do this, like, properly, cover everything properly. And she's like, yeah, said the peacekeeper who fails to keep the peace. Hard to disagree with that statement from Spikes. Obi-Wan says the war would have been over long ago if planets just stood up for themselves once in a while.
Yeah, Obi-Wan, you're not scoring any points with me in this episode, buddy. He'd be like, yeah, Ukraine, why don't you just surrender? Like, fuck you, Obi-Wan.
Literally, the plot of Seven Samurai then proceeds to fall out of Anakin's mouth about training the villagers to defend themselves. And this, I haven't seen this trope be used too often, or this plot line. However, it's the second time, well, this I guess is the first time, but there are 2 times where this is used just within the Star Wars universe, because they did this in an early episode of Mandalorian.
Yep.
Which again, River Song order, so this is the second time I'm seeing this. Obi-Wan doesn't want to help because sticking around means separatists, but he's fine with sticking around to train the villagers. Make it make sense. Cue training montage. Makeover. Wait, sorry, wrong show. Clone Wars. Clone High. Skywalker fails to even get them to form up in ranks. They're like, we don't even have any weapons, while they're holding these giant lethal looking sticks. And Anakin's like, let me show off for a moment. He starts doing his best baton twirling impressions. In the barn, Skywalker is rallying the troops, but Obi-Wan is accusing Spikes of caring more about the profit than the farmers. I'm so over Obi-Wan in this episode. I think I might just ignore him until he has something useful to say.
Yeah, his position is pretty well established at this point.
Yeah. Ahsoka's trying to train some of the I did not write villagers. Villagers? Whatever. With a slingshot when a droid saws down a tree and the turtle droid, one of the bounty hunters, collapses underneath of it, but he's saved by Ahsoka in the last second. What I thought was a droid is apparently a teeny alien in a mech. You know, the one that made fun of him for her size, made fun of her for her size.
And this is Serapis.
I don't like, I mean, it tracks, I guess, with bullying to project your own insecurities on other people. But I don't know. I guess that's just the lesson we're learning there.
He's literally knee-high.
Yeah. It's probably a nickname that was used for him, honestly.
Definitely.
The scene changes and Skywalker is training some of the villagers, and the whiny naysaying farmer with the goggles, he's like, I'm having a hard time. And the samurai droid actually starts poking fun at him for it, which I don't really think that's helpful. Obi-Wan reminds them that they're teaching them not just for these pirates, but any that come after. And the whiny's like, well, this would be over if you just did it for us. Where? They continue training the villagers, but they spot one of Hondo's people watching them from a distance. Robo Samurai, who we now learn as Embo, pursues the scout and somehow is on the ledge within a few seconds. Like, he's watching them from a giant cliff top, and he's like, 1 second, let me take the elevator up. Anyways, Embo blows up the scout's ride and turns into a Beyblade at one point because he starts whizzing through the air.
Yeah.
And And this is where I realize he's not actually Robo.
Yeah, he's just wearing like a respirator type thing or something. But yeah, he looks cyborgy or something.
Yeah, he takes care of the scout. He like we don't see it happen, but he like breaks this guy's back. It's really graphic. Obi-Wan says he'll be coming. I'm like, round the mountain when he comes, he'll be coming. Anyways, suddenly I thought I was in an episode of Independence Day because Hondo is just in one of those ships. He's in this giant flying saucer.
He's flying around in an old gravitron.
He's playing cards with one of his crew, and he decides to go and check out what the villagers are up to because his scout hasn't returned from patrols. Skywalker is at the village, and he's like, anybody who didn't run away is in position. And the Jedi and the bounty hunters are going to be outside the fence. This fence is obviously just something used to keep livestock in because it does nothing for actual defense.
No, they wouldn't need it for defense. That's an electric fence to keep the cows in. That's all that is.
Yeah. Battle ensues. 3 of Hondo's men being surprised by farmers on pollution cows or something. They get completely taken off, like lanced on speeders. It's very interesting. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, suddenly farmers know how to joust.
Yeah. The bounty hunter with the mech suit has to abandon his suit. Is this like his second day with this suit? He doesn't seem to be having much luck with it.
It seems like a bit of a lemon.
And as soon as he comes out of the suit, that's when he becomes lethal. He flips up onto his speeder, takes out the driver. Enbo flips his metal frisbee boomerang shield thing, his hat, and whips it at pursuance, and then it boomerangs back to him.
Yeah, he's doing familiar. Some Kung Lao Captain America shit with that hat.
Yeah. Hondo cackles over the cliff with his big tank, and he starts shoosting the farm. Enbo is injured, and Spikes is worried about the tank. Skywalker uses the same magical elevator Embo used to get top of the cliff in 3 seconds flat, and tries to take out Hondo. His pet companion continues to run the tank.
Yeah, I didn't know Kowakian monkey lizards could run heavy ordnance.
Guess this one can. Injures another one of the bounty hunters. Hondo's pet is moving the tank back and forth, trying to throw Anakin off balance because they're on top of it trying to have a fight. And he's like rocking this thing back and forth. And Hondo seems very sure-footed, so this makes me think that they did this during like a drunken night. And they're like, hey, this would be funny if we just rocked the tank around outside of our Independence Day flying saucer.
Hondo does very well in this fight with Anakin. Like, he fights him toe-to-toe pretty good. He's got one of those Magnus Guard staffs like Grievous guys have that you can use against lightsabers. But he's holding his own.
There's a reason why Obi-Wan and Anakin looked so annoyed as soon as they figured out it was Hondo, because they were like, man, this isn't just going to be like some couple of idiots. This is actually somebody who could give us a run for our money. They hop off of the tank and manage to make it to the ground. And Hondo's companion, this little monkey thing, is ruthless against him, trying to like rip his face off. And the way it's bouncing around, I'm afraid that you're just going to hear and it's going to like slice through the lightsaber because it's flying around pretty good.
I think it was an episode of Mandalorian or something where he's going through the town. They're like cooking those monkey lizards on a spit or something. Yeah. I feel like if something's capable of driving a hover tank, you shouldn't be eating it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's a few of Hondo's men going around, and Talani, the naysaying farmer with the nerdy goggles, comes out of nowhere, and he just makes a kill shot in one throw. And he was doubting his skills earlier. Training goes well, I guess. 7 samurai turned into the Lion King as Hondo slips off the cliff and he's hanging on like Scar. His companion notices and hops back onto the tank while his men rush to his aid. Skywalker actually goes to help him up, but his pet's like lining up the tank behind him for a shot. forcing Skywalker to flip off the cliff, not like with his middle finger, but to actually jump off the cliff. And Hondo gets away in his flying saucer.
Yeah, he peels out, man. That thing can move.
Yeah. That actually went comedically fast.
Yeah,
like that was
too
something you'd
fast.
see in like Looney Tunes.
Yeah, exactly.
The villagers are starting to celebrate and rebuild on the farm, and they continue their harvest. And the bounty hunters are like, all right, do you guys need a drive? And Obi-Wan starts flirting with Spikes. Is this just how he talks to people? I don't like it. It's gross. Stop it.
Kenobi's all over the road since the Satine stuff. I mean, geez. What's going on with him?
First Ventress. It's literally anybody besides Padme who he talks to. Which means he knows. He must.
He must.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he started flirting with Padme, the scowl that'd be on Anakin's face? It would get ugly.
Scowl, Obi-Wan wouldn't have a head.
Can you imagine going on? I'm thinking of asking Padme out to dinner. He's like, the fuck did you say? Dark side early.
That's how episode 3 actually ends. I slept with Padme. So in closing, I go back to the quote with courage makes heroes, but trust builds friendships. And I thought that this was going to be a clone-centric episode. I was incorrect. I was also incorrect about Vinzer needing to call his lawyer. The episode wasn't bad, though. I mean, I enjoy it. It's a good plot, but it was predictable because where I've seen this applied to the Star Wars universe before, it was interesting to see that they did it twice. I don't know.
Yeah, with these Seven Samurai stories, you always know how it's going to turn out. It's just a question of what interesting things happen in between, I guess. But yeah, it's pretty. I mean, they had the Seven Samurai is like a fucking 3-hour movie, and a lot more happens in it. They got to kind of compact the essence of that down to 20 minutes or whatever. I mean, because of Seven Samurai, I did like this episode for sure.
Yeah.
And even with Kenobi acting, he's weirdly. I don't know if he was out of character or not at this point, but I was a little over him in this episode.
Yeah, I've been a little over him for a few episodes. Maybe I just don't like Jedi. I don't know. It's weird.
You are Mandalorian.
So I don't really have anything else about this episode. It's a pretty standard Seven Samurai retell. It was good.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, really. We got to use a recurring character with Hondo and stuff, but did you enjoy it? Did you actually like it?
I did. As soon as I saw that it was Hondo, I was on board because I liked him last time.
Yeah, that was a good move because they could have used a rando bad guy and the stakes wouldn't have felt high. But when you bring a guy back that's been in an episode before, the fans love that shit, and it just it ups the ante just a little bit to keep you hooked.
Yeah, exactly. Like if they had Cad Bang, I would have been like, well, we're screwed. That's it. We're done.
Oh boy, yeah, that would have been a good episode. What's funny is every Clone Wars season sort of has a little title with it, and this one, the season 2 is called Rise of the Bounty Hunters, but I feel like there hasn't been that much of Rise of the Bounty Hunters. We've barely seen Cad. I almost called it Bang, Cad Bane. And I know we had these 3 bounty hunters here, 4 bounty hunters, but still, I feel like for a season titled Rise of the Bounty Hunters, I was expecting a little more bounty hunters.
I think a lot of the bounty hunter stuff is also coming from that Mandalorian moon, the Mundo planet. So I think that it's also coming from that. So maybe it's just an overarching thing with Mandalorians and for contract bounty hunters.
Well, there are a few episodes left too, though.
Yeah. So we'll see. So I'm excited to see what's next, and I'd like some General Gargle Blaster soon, please.
Grievous?
Yes. Love Grievous.
I have a feeling we'll be seeing him soon enough.
Excellent.
All right, ready to move on?
I guess we can move on to this episode. I'm the one trying to draw this out this week.
Okay. Time for Buffy, Season 2, Episode 17, entitled Passion.
A nice lighthearted episode. Super
another one.
Yeah.
My prediction for this one was Buffy attempts to kill Angel in the heat of passion. So tonight we start off at the Bronze, and Buffy's dancing with Xander, but Cordelia and Willow are here too. Angel's lurking in the background, and he does a bit of a voiceover monologue about passion, which is a weird first for this show, having a voiceover other than the opener. I don't remember them using that before.
Who was he talking to? Maybe you have a fresh perspective on this.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a weird narration thing. Not a fourth wall break, but yeah, it was a weird writing choice for the show, but okay.
I had an idea that he's talking out loud to himself because he has no inner monologue. So he's like, Angel is walking down the alley, and Drusilla and Spike are like, "What are you doing, man?"
And Spike would call that. He's like, "Who are you talking to, mate?" Xander and Cordelia actually look kind of happy here, like after everything they've been through. Just a little note, I thought they looked kind of happy together.
I'm just glad that there's room for Jesus between Xander and Buffy.
They walk right past Angel, who just killed yet another girl.
Buffy missing Angel eating a girl in an alley is ridiculous because it's a plot hole, because as you can see, as the scene goes on, she can sense him, even if she doesn't even realize what she's sensing.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. It was messy.
So at Buffy's, Buffy finally has her fucking window closed as she goes to bed, but Angel's right there outside watching. Everyone's had this fear where they'll look out a window at night and someone's face will be right there. I know my sister was like, if I saw that, I'd fucking lose it. Imagine you're trying to get some sleep and David Boreanaz is speaking in your window.
Yeah, I mean, there's arguments can be made for that.
So the question answered about whether he can get in or not. And he's creepily hovering over her as she sleeps. And he's still monologuing about having no choice because of passion.
My other theory was that we're just hearing an excerpt from his diary.
Yeah, something like that, it feels like, honestly.
Dear diary, tail Buffy, check. Insult Spike, check. Eat someone, check, check, check. Now for the final check. Giggity three-way with Drew and Spike.
Oh, why did you have to say that? Moving on. So Buffy wakes to a letter on her pillow, and it's a sketch of her sleeping. I'm like, nice drawing, but creepy, man. And I'm like, did he draw this or did he have it commissioned?
Charcoal. Like, he drew this with charcoal.
Yeah, old school.
That's messy.
All right, next day at the library, Buffy tells Giles and the gang about the visit from the pointed tooth fairy, as Xander puts it. I remember I'm still very grossed out by Xander, and he should shut up this episode, and perhaps for all episodes to come. Cordelia brings up the question I brought up before about the invite thing, is if it still works, and she realizes she once invited him into her car. She better get a new car. So Giles, how can we reverse the invite in thing? And does it work for cars too? Poor old Jonathan, that is his name, right? Old Danny Strong walks in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so used to seeing him in Mad Men. So he comes in to actually use the library with another student. And Xander's like, what the fuck are you doing in here? And Giles like, this is a school library. This goes to show how territorial they are about their little hideout there. Like, I need an Encyclopedia Britannica. Can I come in, please? For those of you born, not 100 years ago, Encyclopedia Britannica is what we had before Google. So the gang gets run out of their own hideout and they go to the hallways to continue conferring.
The one time Giles actually should be there to do his job, he leaves.
Yeah. So Cordelia asks the real questions, like, why isn't he just killing her in his sleep, or in her sleep? I think I made a typo in the note. This doesn't seem to be Angel's MO. He wants to provoke, or I'm wondering, can he just not bring himself to do it? So Buffy's concerned about her mom because the first thing Angel did when he was obsessed with Drusilla was kill her family. So does she tell her some of the truth, which Giles is very opposed to? Giles says he will find a spell, but she must not let Angel get to her. This seems like a very, very playing off Buffy's concerns. Like, oh yeah, he's a murderous vampire who's going to kill everyone around you, but don't let him bother you. Yeah, you should be bothered. You should be, I don't know, on a plane somewhere.
This is very much the same what women face when they go to the police station a lot of the time and claim a stalker. The stalkers are like, the police basically just go, oh, well, if you ignore them, we unfortunately can't do anything unless he kills you. So
Yeah.
try not to let that happen. Good luck.
In Calendar's class, Jenny asks Willow to cover for her while she's delayed for next time, and Willow's delighted, but she spirals off into what ifs. What if they don't recognize my authority, or there's a fire alarm, etc., etc.? And I'm like, welcome to my brain right here.
Jenny is just casually blurring the lines of student-teacher relationship by being like, hey, student, cover my class. Isn't that Snyder's job to provide a temp? A substitute?
Well, you know, in fifth grade, when the teacher would have to leave the room for a minute, or I remember she had a coughing fit once, I was the kid that got called on to continue reading to the class. So, you know, I got pitch hit in, but not to run the class.
No. And she becomes really power hungry here. Like, do I have the power to give detention? Like, that shouldn't be like one of your first go-to questions.
Yeah, her mind just spiraled out on that whole thing. So Buffy and Giles show up. Giles sticks around to talk, and I'm like, oh, things are warming up here between the two of them. And he updates Jenny about Angel's soul situation. And Jenny actually has a book that may help, and she's trying to redeem herself a little here. And Giles he's still a little chilly, but Calendar defends herself a little bit here, saying how her family was Angel's victims too. So, you know, she does have a case to make here for her actions as much as it's seen as a betrayal by the group.
Yeah.
Then she drops the bomb that she's in love with Giles, and it's just too late to take that shit back. Yeah, Giles seems to soften, but says he's not the one she has to make it up to.
I really like the quote that he says in this. That's one of the unpleasant side effects of betrayal. She's like, you might be feeling betrayed. And he's like, yeah, well, that is one of the unpleasant side effects.
At Buffy's, Joyce asks Buffy what's wrong while they're at dinner. And you remember that college boy Angel who was tutoring her in history? We were dating. Joyce, don't tell me. He's changed. He's not who he was. Bingo. And Buffy says she's having trouble letting go, and he's engaging in a little stalkery behavior. So if he shows up, don't invite him in. So at Willow's, he's on the phone with Buffy, and the plan is basically to ignore Angel until they can counteract the invite thing. Again, this is really the silly course of action here. Just ignore it.
Yeah.
Willow finds an envelope with her dead aquarium fish in it. So, you know, Angel's getting into everybody's house. So the inevitable is happening where everyone Buffy knows is now in extreme danger.
And then they go to Buffy's. Why wouldn't they go to somebody like Xander's or Jenny's or Snyder's or Cordelia's? Not her car, but her house.
I'd be looking to rent a timeshare that he's never been in before. Can I come in? No, you fucking can't.
No, because it needs to be your residence. Just go somewhere where he can't get in. Why did they go to Buffy's? He can obviously waltz in through the window.
This stalker stuff is so lame, man. It makes Angel out to be like such a loser. And I put in my notes to say that like Ace Ventura. Loser.
And you don't often quote Jim Carrey, so you must be infuriated.
I don't mind Jim Carrey. I loved him in the 90s, but yeah. The scene cuts to Willow sleeping over at Buffy's, which, like you mentioned, is fucking hilarious. And she's got a steak in her hand, which I didn't notice right away. She's just kind of petting it. And then I noticed even after that there's fucking garlic hanging up behind. Has it been established that garlic works on vampires in this? It does? Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yep.
All right, over at the vampire lair, Spike's looking a little healthier, but still a little crispy. And Drusilla brings him a puppy named Sunshine, open wide. Spike refuses to be fed like a child, and the Angel saunters in to be an asshole. Drusilla, we were worried. Spike, no, we weren't. So Angel taunts Spike, and the puppy is now on Spike's lap, by the way, which is funny. Drusilla starts to go off a little crazy, says an old enemy is seeking help to destroy their happy home. So she's having one of her little psychic premonitions here.
Spike's like, happy home.
So Jenny Calendar stops into this little occult shop that's full of creepy things, but it still has gumball candy machines, so, you know, it's still friendly.
And new age paperweights.
He asks, what are you looking for, a love potion? No, thank you. We've been through that shit.
Too soon.
So I missed the name at first. I think I got it later on, but she asked for an orb of something.
Bestiala.
Right, okay. And then he goes, "Oh, I see you're in the trade." And then I think his accent dropped entirely after that. He's like, "All right, well, you're not some rube. You're in the on the whole business here." So, but he knew who her uncle Ennio was and who she is. He knows that she's Yana. Yep, sells a glass orb that is apparently a spirit vault for rituals of the undead, and he sold a few as New Age paperweights. But she still needs a translation of the text to go with the orb, so it'll work. So Jenny's planning to restore Angel's soul. This is an interesting tactic she's playing here. This will really redeem her to the group and save Angel in the process. At school, Xander makes a creepy remark about their sleepover because of course he does. So Willow's disappointed because Calendar's actually on time. There goes her lesson plan. Buffy seems like she kind of wants to make peace and says she should keep up with the feeling bad. But Giles is hurting and Buffy doesn't want that.
Buffy shows so much maturity here, and it's one of the reasons that I love her. She's just like, we may not be cool, but Giles deserves better, and he loves you, so.
That is very mature, especially for a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
So Giles found a ritual to revoke the vampire invitation. You'd think he'd have that information a little closer to hand. It feels like, in bullet points of what watchers and people might need, I feel like how to disinvite a vampire from your house would be kind of higher in the list and you wouldn't have to search for it so much. But anyway, he does find it.
It's weird that Jenny had that spell because it is the book that she did give him.
But anyway, it's good news because Cordelia had swapped cars with her granny. Poor granny. She could be dead now. Apparently the ritual's fairly basic, really. So, Willow, they sort of fortify their homes, which they should have been doing anyway. Willow mentions her dad by name for the first time I can remember, and how he's going to love how a Jewish home is going to be putting up crosses everywhere, and that she has to go to Xander's to watch Charlie Brown's Christmas every year. Cordelia remarks how there's no fish in the aquarium. Yeah, we know. They find another letter with another creepy-ass drawing. This time it's of Joyce, so Angel's playing his creepy stalker games.
I forgot to say earlier that I love how throughout this entire episode, Giles isn't arguing with Cordelia about her car at all, even though it probably makes no difference at all because it's a moving versus a solitary object. But he's like, yeah, sure, car, whatever.
Giles is learning just to not listen to everything these teenagers are saying. He just sort of discards stuff.
And you know that she actually made them do her car first before their homes.
At Buffy's, Joyce pulls up in her fucking Jeep Grand Cherokee, and Angel's waiting for her. He needs to talk, and he wants her help, and Joyce is like, leave her alone, and Angel's getting all weird and clingy and insistent. It's very off-putting. He says, I'll die without Buffy's playing the victim, and Joyce is going to call the cops. And he drops the bomb about he can't sleep since they made love. Angel goes to enter, but Willow finishes the spell and he can't get in. Sorry, assholes, we've changed the locks.
I think this is Willow doing her first spell.
Ah, important note there, yeah. At the school at Calendar's office, Giles drops in and she quickly alt-tabs her secret project on Windows 3.1 or an Apple, by the way. Either way, fucking vintage. Nice. They arrange to meet at his house later and he seems pretty happy about it. Meanwhile, Drusilla drops in with Sunshine the puppy at the occult shop and she wants to know what the mean teacher talked about. So, how does Drusilla know this at all? Like, does she have telepathic abilities that circumvent plots or what?
She does have plot magic visions, but she was known for kind of having visions and stuff in life too. Okay. We do kind of learn a little bit of that. It gets referenced in Lie to Me, but that was back a bit ago. Also, this man has a rookie mistake. He turns off the lights and hits the close sign, but he doesn't lock the door. You do that immediately after close, so then customers can't get in.
Yeah, never mind the vampires. You gotta keep the stupid people out.
80001, like that's doors getting shut.
100%. Yeah, we've seen Drusilla have her little visions and stuff before, but this one seemed a little convenient that she just like, it's like her vision gave her a street address to go to.
Yeah, because she saw one that, she saw the one when Angel lost his soul and became Angelus again. I guess that there's probably not many occult shops in this one Starbucks
Yeah.
town of Sunnydale, so I mean, she just went to the one place that she knew to go. But Sunshine is really the hero of this episode.
I mean, there's an army base and some docks and a desert and some mountains and factories and stuff, but one occult shop. At the school, Calendar finishes the translation she needs, saves it on a 3.5 floppy disk, and prints this shit out on a dot matrix printer. Like, just that sound, man. Oh my. And not even just of the printer, but of the sound of those disks coming in and out of the drive. Like, I love that. Takes me back. Angel's lurking around in the dark. He was invited in by the words of the school. Inscribed over the door, I guess. Enter all who seek knowledge. I'm like, oh, that's a nice little vampire loophole. So he smashes the orb, he kiboshes that plan, and then he smashes the computer and the printout with the ritual of restoration. He tears that up. And that monitor's really on fire. You know, I didn't know those old monitors could catch on fire, but this one did.
Yeah.
So Angel goes vamp face and he attacks her and he chases her through the school. She runs outside, Angel's chasing, and she shoves a cleaning cart into him, and it actually knocks him fucking off his feet good. Like, it takes him out.
He flies right over it.
Yeah, the stunt guy, fuck, I don't know if David did his own stunts or whatever there, but whoever did the stunt fucking ate it. It was great.
Yeah.
So Angel's chasing her, and he catches her, and he actually kills her by breaking her neck. I did not see that coming, but I should have. Suddenly the stakes just raised. Mm-hmm. Very surprising. Buffy's Giles stops by to get the book, and Willow updates him that Joyce now knows Angel and Buffy had this ex. Giles, maybe I should talk to her mother, but he can't think of anything and flees out the door. He just runs away.
And Willow doesn't even argue with him. She's like, sure, but like, what would you say? And then he just kind of fumbles for a moment and he goes, and she goes, yeah, anyways, have a nice night. Like,
Yeah, never mind. He got while the kitten was good.
Yeah.
Buffy and Joyce are talking in her bedroom, and she plays off the herbs and stuff as Angel being superstitious. Joyce says he's obviously not very stable. This conversation's pretty real here beyond the vampire stuff. This is just a parent worried about her daughter banging some creepy older man, and it's very, very believable part here. And I don't even have any jokes at the moment of Joyce being around. I've gotten used to it. Like, I've made all those jokes about where she was, but she's been around a lot, and now I'm used to it. So I don't have any jokes about, like, why aren't you on a mountain in Nepal?
He's older than you, which I had understatement of the last 2 centuries. And she's like, well, that was the talk. And I'm like, did we miss a lot of the talk? This doesn't seem like this was actually the talk. There wasn't a lot of substance in it. It was like, you slept with a guy and you didn't tell me about it. That was the only real bit of conversation that they had.
Yeah, we can hope there was more before we came to the scene there.
I'm not ready for this scene. Go ahead.
So Giles goes and finds a red rose on the door, and he must have thought he was about to get some, man. Classical music's playing, a letter on the champagne bucket that says upstairs, and I'm like, this is about to get fucking ugly and real.
What did you think was going to be at the top of the stairs before we ventured up there?
I don't remember. I just figured that romantic night was not going to happen. It was going to be an awful record scratch moment. And so yeah, there's candles going up the stairs. The mood is set. Yep, dead Jenny Calendar in his bed. And it was like a literal glass shattering moment. He drops it. So the scene cuts to the cops and the coroner's taking away. Like, this is really happening. And they need to ask him some questions, and he's just shell-shocked, and he asks to make a call. Buffy's Angel's monologuing about passion again. He's creepily watching Buffy through the window again. She gets the phone, and she and Willow get the news about Calendar, and they're devastated. And just it feels way more real suddenly. It suddenly goes from being, a lighthearted, supernatural type of show to a horror movie type feeling.
Yeah, this is what he thrives on. This is what he wanted. This is why he's watching, is he's watching because he's feeding off of her grief. And my God, does Willow's grief in this scene just get me. Like, I actually teared up, and I never used to really tear up at this scene because I'm cold-hearted, but I always was like, oh, this one this time. I was like, Willow's, just stop it.
Yeah, she sold the hell out of that. How Angel comes back from this now, I have no idea. Like, I assume that happens at some point, but he's fallen pretty fucking far. So even if he gets his soul back, it's like, we can't trust you ever again. Fuck off. So Xander and Cordelia show up, presumably in her own car again, and they head off to Giles' house worried about what he might do. Giles looks to be putting together a little revenge kit. There's another sketch, this time of dead Jenny Calendar, and I'm kind of a little amazed at this point. I realize because of plot, but he's still not being held by authorities. I mean, they found the dead person in his house. Like, theoretically, he'd be talking to cops all night. Like, he wouldn't just be back out and home, right? So I had to suspend a little disbelief for that, but whatever.
Especially if they looked around his place to see any of those weapons that he's now gathering up with any of
Seriously.
his texts. Like, he would never have been let out of that.
They would have had him committed, for sure. So the gang arrives to police tape on the door. Apparently Giles has school weapons, but keeps the good stuff at home. So that might explain where he gets the stuff like the high-powered tranq rifle from the early episode. He's got some vault or something. Maybe that's a Watcher thing. They keep all, a reserve of weapons at home or something. But anyway, Xander actually makes a good point that, yeah, Angel needs to be staked. For once, I agree with you. All right, at the vampire lair, Spike is like, what the fuck are you doing leaving these little presents around? He says, I think I prefer the Buffy whipped angel. This one isn't playing with a full sack. Once again, Spike gets the great lines. And followed by another great line, I love a good slaughter as much as the next bloke.
I've got everything under control is the quote I have here. Immediately followed by a Molotov.
Yeah, as soon as he says that, Molotov explodes and Angel takes a crossbolt in the shoulder. And Giles seems really scary here, and I love it. And he just starts kicking the shit at Angel, but predictably, he doesn't last long. But the balls on Giles for doing this, like, man, fucking respect. I loved it.
We forget, he was called Ripper when he was younger.
Yeah, I like seeing that side come out.
Yeah, and Spike is like, no, not until we're tapped in.
Yeah, he's he knows what he's doing. So Buffy jumps in. There's a face kick, my favorite, big fight. And Spike's like, yeah, let's just wait. And she's kicking his ass, but she has to save Giles and Angel to get the fuck out. Hey, Angel GTFOs, it says on my notes. Giles shoves her away, and she punches him, but immediately hugs them. They're all very super upset. So Giles returns home to the police tape. I'm like, he's going to have to move now. Angel does some more voiceover, creepy passion stuff. I wish he'd stop doing it at this point. At the start of the episode, I understand, but he's still doing it. Mm-hmm. So at the cemetery, Giles and Buffy are at Calendar's tombstone. Is like, this is really real now. And Buffy's sorry that she couldn't kill Angel before, but she thinks she's ready to do it now. And it makes sense that a primary character had to get killed before she truly gets spurred to action. It's one thing to say, oh, just ignore it, don't want to get to you. But as soon as one of the main group gets killed, then what do? You got to do something.
Yeah. Why is she buried here?
In vampire respawn fucking
under
cemetery.
Her anglicized name. She's buried under her anglicized name with no information on it in Sunnydale, when her body should have been returned to her Romani tribe.
Yeah, totally. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, that's a very good question. Like, I guess they just had to go with the information they had. It's almost like, she got buried by the fucking state kind of thing, because maybe she didn't have any family or anything. So yeah, that's a very good point.
After Ennio was killed, how would they have even tried to contact?
Exactly. Yeah, they may not know, or know for a while. Who knows? That's interesting. All right, at school, Willow fills in for Calendar, but not the way she wanted to. And so she says she's just going to stick to the lesson plan Calendar left. All her grand plans for lesson plan out the window. I just got to do what she left. The disc with the ritual on it falls behind the fucking desk, and the episode ends, and I'm just like, come on. That was frustrating, Eddie. But yeah, really hard-hitting episode. I did not expect... I really thought Jenny Calendar was going to get a redemption and become part of the gang again, but no, they actually killed her off, which is really quite surprising. All right, so conclusion, the prediction. Well, Buffy, I suppose, did attempt to kill Angel in the literal heat of passion as the vampire lair burned. I guess they're going to have to find a new lair now. Good episode. It felt like the stakes were pretty high. A main character didn't make it through, so it feels very game-changing, and it feels like the gloves are off now, so we've been building up to this, and it's, like I said, it went from feeling like a lighthearted teenage show about vampires to a horror movie. It felt like that, just the horror of, losing the friend to this monster. So
Yeah.
they really hit the head really good there. Joyce learning more about the situation with Angel makes it feel like things are actually moving story-wise, which is important. It's not just a Joyce is always clueless trope. So I do dig that. The story is evolving. I still think she's going to eventually be 100% clued in. That does feel inevitable to me. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I give it 4.5 creepy stalker drawings out of 5. I really loved Angry Giles. Giles bent on revenge is just fucking, that was badass.
Yeah.
If he ever gets that mad against a non-vampire or regular human, I fucking pity the man, because he can be dangerous.
Yeah, I do enjoy seeing Ripper in his full glory, because he surprisingly had Angel on the ropes for a good amount of that fight.
Yeah, he had the element of surprise, and he almost capitalized on it. He came very close to finishing him off.
The smooth synchronicity of him just walking through, lighting the bat on fire, and immediately whipping it around and taking it to Angel's face. I was just like,
it was good.
Ooh.
He had a plan. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think if he'd managed to kill Angel in that moment, I don't think Spike and Drusilla, I think they would have fled. I don't think they would have just cut their losses and said, let's get the fuck out of here, especially the place on fire and shit, right? Like, I think they would have just left.
Yep, 100%.
So, the extra 0.5 in my score is because it was a Xander Light episode.
Where Xander, when he did speak, mostly had a good point. So
Yep.
the one time he spoke, the rest of it, he could have just not been there.
Yeah, great episode. Really, really enjoyed it. Lots of cool stuff in it. Lots of things moving along. And like I said, even little things like Joyce being more read into what's actually fucking going on. Like, it feels like things are moving forward. So that's good. We're not. Yeah. It's not just doing Monsters of the Week are fun, but sometimes you just want to see that overall arcing plot of the season move along a few steps. And I feel like that really happened here. So I loved it. Really enjoyed it. And I'm very excited to see the next one.
Yeah, me too. I thought that this episode happened after the next episode. I had these two reversed, so I was all ready for a very different episode. So I guess you and I can come back next week and discuss the next one.
I don't like the way you said that. Uh-oh. If Jenny Calendar crawls out of that cemetery, I'm going to be pissed, man.